So I want to talk about the criminal ruling class. It's really evil rich people, and you can see the Bible told us about this, but the apostate church has now sided with the evil rich people. It is God to them. You can see now their rhetoric, and I've been pointing this out for a long time, but the censors, it is these same people, the religious right-wingers who are censoring us, same as the communist left. It's the uniparty. They're animals. They can't see, they don't know that they're united in evil. They think that they're divided in truth. That's what it is, but they're united in evil. And we can talk about the Nephilim and the bloodlines and the synthetic world, particularly the dividing of roots and the enchanting and resolving of enchanting. That has to do with bloodlines in the simulation. People think it has to do with herbalism. It doesn't have to do with herbalism. It has to do with the dividing of the bloodlines and the simulations. That's why the LGBTQ plus is such an important aspect of the Nephilim religion, because women are actually just like robot men in the dividing of roots. That's what they are. It's an enchantment of, when we're talking about enchantment, that's what women are. Women are offshoot of the father's bloodline. And they are like transition of energies, of information, of life experience. And the Jezebel spirit is kind of like a man in the guise of a woman pretending to be a woman, even though she's a complete woman biologically in the Matrix. It's a demonic, consciously demonic entity who has knowledge elsewhere, and that's the Jezebel spirit. It becomes this Matrix manipulators, and they manifest where they control society, because who has the money in the world? The women. The women have all the money, and who has the power? The women. And it's the spirit of Jezebel, and that's like a Nephilim bloodline male in a woman's body who's conscious on a different interdimensional level of what it's doing, and it's manipulating society to its ends. And that's the common corruption you have in society. That's what's running the church. That spirit's what's running the church. And I had an encounter with this evil person, and the number of times she told me she's a church-going godly person, it was like 30 times, and she's not a church-going godly person. I didn't really know the person. I kind of knew the person right away, because I know the kind of people it is. But you have to verify it. You can't just go on a hunch. You have to see let the person. That's what I always say. Let the person expose their malfeasance, and it takes time. You can't. I can look at a person and go, I know this person's a scoundrel, but they have to demonstrate it, and then you have to have a record of it. So this is what I got. I got a record of it. So we were describing this little garden area and the malfeasance that goes on, because the people taking over the gardens is the Jezebel spirit. It's working as a communist organization. It's ordered. They don't want humanity. Okay, humanity means anyone who is Christ-minded. That's humanity. It doesn't have to be a religious ordinance. You don't have to go to the priest, have them put their hands on you and be submerged in water. You just have to believe in human decency, and that your actions and decisions in life will affect your life to come, which most people believe in some form or another. They believe that. So to be faithful is to kind of go on the good foot. That's kind of what humanity, and to be rational and reasonable. When you become mystical, you're not rational and reasonable, and the Jezebel spirit manipulates you. This is what happens. And from a biblical standpoint, you're not supposed to be enticed by any women. They're not supposed to steer you from what is right and true. And they give you, the Ten Commandments is pretty much a staple morality. You have to honor your parents, whoever they are, because where did you come from? And the honoring of your parents is also like the earth and the ether, the sun and the moon. By honoring the sun and the moon in a cosmic sense, that's honoring your parents, and that's the same. And that's your humility as a mortal human being. And a human means approximate witness to reality, and being means subservient to reality. You are not the end-all, be-all. But the mystical religions, they tune into your ego and say, you need to harmonize. And explicitly, the Bible says this is not a faithful practice. This is a worldly practice. And anyway, back to the Nephilim and the bloodlines. So yeah, I saw these two people, and they're both the same. They both lie all the time. And I kind of like, see what they're doing. And they take over. What happens is I saw this garden club, and I saw the guy who started it. He was standing there looking dismayed, and I had a conversation with him. And he said, oh yeah, this was destroyed. Or he said, this is all weeds. The people kind of took over, and I can't get a word in edgewise with these people. They're really cliquey, and it's just, you can't even, work with these people. And he wanted to, because he started it, he created it. He was there with like 20 other people. They, got to work, and they set up this little, rows of, in a garden, in a community garden. But he was pushed out by these Jezebel spirit manipulators who they're not interested in, they're looking to explicitly remove any utility from humanity. They want to raise taxes on you, they want to abolish the Bill of Rights, and they want to just process you in the spirit of Baal for their bloodlines. That's what it is, a demonic process that's going on. And that's absolute fact of what it is. Because I've seen every single garden club I've seen, 100% of them is usurped by these people. That's not just a strange aggregate. That's an absolution because it's deliberate. The people with money, and I know this is another thing, the people with money, all they do is scheme. They're always they're busybody, backbiting gossipers. That's all they do for money. Everything else is superficial. And you got to look at how they kind of like confiscate things. So even the communists you have people with like IQ of like 80. They're very dishonest, but they're very self-assured of their pride and their beauty, and they're great. And here's how the CIA and academics, academics are being run by the same Jesuits who run the CIA. They tell these people that they're the most intelligent, brightest, sophisticated, beautiful people. That's the CIA. How do you become a CIA? You have like a low IQ, and they tell you, no, you got something special with you. And sure, they do train some kind of tactical protocols. They do, go by the book, but they're really looking for stupid people. This is known. They've come out with this. And you look at the people who are like elected officials, even in any board, it's going to be stupid people, but who are very narcissistic and dishonest. And this is the Jezebel spirit again. It's continuous, the guidance. Even when you have a beast mind in your religion, when you go, I just harmonize with my inside, and then that's how the world meets my desires. That's nonsensical, and it's mystical babble. That's exactly what it is. And then you see, when you turn the news on, like, why is all this crazy stuff going on? And you go, well, there's a bunch of mindless people who are selfish and dishonest and stupid, and it's like everybody, and they're servicing this Elysian Olympian realm. Okay, that's, it's the bloodline families just inheriting the wealth and taking more and more and more power, calling themselves the divine creators. They're creating because they steal and lie and they cheat and they murder. Really, their protocol is murder. That's really what they're doing. They're murdering people. And even like human resources in academia, what does management believe? There's such I was just looking at this, 2 jobs. I got fired from both of these jobs. And the one was at a restaurant. And I'm telling my coworkers, I'm like, these guys don't want me. There's nothing I can do. They're really shit-canning me. They're like, no, you're the best. They wouldn't do that. I go, yeah, that's definitely they're going to do that. And they eventually found a reason to get rid of me. And then they fired like 10 other people. That's only been like 6 months ago. So they're firing 10 people in that time for the same reason. But it's like I was the most competent person. They got rid of me first. And I told them that. I said, they're attacking me for competency. There's like this, like the manager doesn't want to have any, he wants job security. And it's not even just job security in a temporal sense. It's more like in a eternal sense. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with this mechanical vulgarity. It's an eternal slot that they're looking at. But the people that they kept are the most incompetent, dishonest, slimy of people. The people who literally they punch in and they hide for 3 hours. And while I was there, the guy's like, "Oh, that guy's gonna get fired. What's he doing? He's been here for 3 hours. Hasn't done anything yet." He's not fired. He's still there. He's not going to get fired because this is what the management is looking for, murder. He's a murderous scoundrel. That's my point. But the fact that these murderous scoundrels are everywhere, it's even a cult takeover. Because in the Berkshires, in the Pittsfield, even the whole Berkshire County, that satanic cult runs everything. There's no... because this guy's smiling. He's walking by. He thinks it's a funny joke to say that. This guy's ignorant. He needs to take his medicines and then be, done with his ego. That guy thinks it's a funny joke. But in the reality, I'm gonna say it's not a perhaps the Berkshires is run by satanic. This is Vanderbilt territory. First of all, the people I knew there were like, "Oh yeah, Vanderbilts." I didn't know the Vanderbilts at all, but lots of people I knew them and work for them for side gigs. That's how they get, that's how they stay afloat. They work for the wealthy people and they do little side gigs. And it becomes like this social networking of gossiping, busybody type people who are very religiously aligned with the Jezebel spirit. That's the whole, I don't know one person in Berkshire County out of the hundreds and hundreds of people I met, I don't know one of them who's not sided with the Jezebel spirit, okay? And it's extreme, where I knew 50 people very close, and all of them are completely Jezebel spirit. Dishonest, dangerous people. Very dangerous. They will do the worst of the worst, and they smile. They have no shame in doing the worst of the worst. And that's everybody? And this is it's a satanic place. I'll give you an example of 3 people I was working for. One was a restaurant, and it was Chinese mafia, most likely. The guy he had 3 restaurants, and it was Chinese mafia. But anyway, one of the coworkers, she was this waitress, she's like 18, she kept singing songs of stuff I'm listening to in my apartment 40 miles away. So it's obscure, real obscure stuff. And as she's singing these songs, it's very blatant, saying, "Hey, look, it's not her, it's the whole club. We have access to your apartment." You know what I'm saying? We're watching you. And this is who are these people? This is just a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? I'm working at a restaurant. And another example is working for this guy, a landscaper. And I think he was trying to have me bumped off because he first of all, he had a dungeon in his basement. Okay, so he had his metal doors and bar, like a little prison. And I was like, "What's this?" And he also made jokes about pedophilia all the time. And this guy was in his 70s. So him making jokes about having sex with a 2-year-old, 12-year-old is it's weird. And I'm like, this is a weird scenario. And then he was always setting me up to work with these two slimeball people who are dangerous. And he's always put me in a place where they can ambush me, and they got weapons. I didn't trust the guy. Anyway, but the fact that he had a dungeon and he making jokes about pedophilia, not a good thing. And another example, I was working at this timeshare place, and I was working in a game room for the kids, and there's all these kids there, and there was someone walking around with a camera taking pictures of other people's kids, stealthily, and I reported it to the security guy, and he tried to get away, but he got caught, and then my manager's like, "Oh no, it's okay, he works for a magazine." No, that's not okay for somebody working for a magazine to be candidly taking pictures of other people's kids. Okay, that's not okay. And that's a crime, and it's definitely very understood to be a crime, but the horrible person who's my manager didn't think it was a crime. Completely shady. And later, I actually had to deliver something to that same place I was working on a different job. And the people who answered the door, it's these decrepit, you can tell that they're tax collectors. They're USAID, grant money recipient liberals. You can't describe it any other way. They're kind of like these curmudgeon, horrible people with no social skills. They're out of shape and inbred. Okay, these 2 couples. And they had a kid answer the door who didn't look anything like them. And she's only 2 months old and naked answering the door at 10:30 at night. That's not a protocol And then they're like laughing about it. They go, it's funny. Well, no, it's not funny. Who's this kid? Who the hell are you guys? And the apartment was a mess. It was a completely filthy mess. And they're ordering like very expensive gourmet food. So who are these people staying in this timeshare place? They've got money to just spend. They're tax collectors. They're evil, satanic cult members. And it's not a joke to say that they're not cult members. Even in the building I'm in, the people who own it is satanic. They're known in the area that people are saying, yeah, these people run the drugs. They run the drugs and they run the local police. And the local police definitely working with the drug dealers and to install satanic communism. Communism is Satanism. It's not socialism. And anybody who tries to equate socialism and communism is wrong, and they're not going to discuss the topic. It's a very religious thing right away. And you got to look at, like, Moses, was not he a socialist? Was not Jesus a socialist? They weren't communists, but they were socialists. And there's a semantic issue, but you can't get anywhere with a right-wing, religious, corrupt people. They're the same as a communist. There's no difference between a communist and a right-wing politicard who wants to censor political speech. Okay, so you look at them, what's going on? And you look at Blumenthal on the liberals and Schumer and whoever else on the liberal side, and anybody you can think of, and what's going on in Israel. It's the same party. It's a uniparty. The right-wing, conservatards and the left-wing communists, you're like, who are the communists? This is Israel. Israel's a communist. They run every country in a communist state, and it's rules for thee, not for me. That's the Jezebel spirit. That's the Elysian bloodlines that are being defended. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're talking about.